All right, guys. Thanks for joining. My name is Heather. I am on the social media team here at Whole Earth Provision Company, and we are super excited to have you guys here for our mini clinic on all things hygiene on the trail. A lot of times people tend to, not get into the outdoors because this is maybe the biggest thing they're worried about is hygiene and how to stay clean or how to go to the bathroom in the woods. There are some great resources on how to handle situations like this, specifically the Leave No Trace website, which is lnt.org. And that's going to have a ton of information on the best ways to conduct yourselves, not only in this area, but in a lot of areas when sharing nature with other people. So lots of things to consider. There's also some great options. We have this hilarious book. This is the 4th edition in our stores that teach you how to, do some of these things with some sense of humor. So great things to check out at our stores. We will start with your feet. Your feet are your base for your whole body, and if your feet aren't happy, you're probably not going to have a good time when you're out there. So my first recommendations are to get yourself a pair of some really good quality socks that work really well for you. If you're unsure about what kind of socks to get, we have a mini clinic on our YouTube that you can check out that we did all things socks and what might be the best sock for you. So, biggest thing is keeping your feet dry. So some good moisture wicking socks are a great option to keep your feet happy and healthy on the trail. That also includes a good first aid kit or a blister pack so that you can deal with things like blisters if you do get one, keeping those kinds of things clean so that you're not, running into possibly getting an infection and something like that. So good moleskin blister kit. These are great options to keep in your pack and keep your feet healthy and clean while you're on the trail. And some, change of socks and keeping those socks dry is super important. Another little thing for your feet that you might try is foot glide, or, we have body glide specifically for like chafing, but the foot glide will do sort of the same stuff for your feet. Next is for your body. So yeah, if you are chafing, body glide again is a really good option. This is just a small travel one, but we do have some in a bigger size if you're, maybe doing something like trail running or just outside for longer periods of time. And I really like to house a lot of this stuff in like a travel toiletry kit. This is one from Eagle Creek that has like a sort of water resistant liner on the inside, so it keeps your stuff, mostly dry. Or if you want something a little bit more dedicated, I really like the waterproof bags from Night Eyes. These are the Runoff series, and they make these in a few different sizes. And they make an actual toiletry kit that, could hold your toothbrush and your toothpaste, if deodorant, if you want to bring that. But this is waterproof and stuff, so you can put your toilet paper and, all your stuff in there without worrying about it leaking into your pack or getting wet if it's, raining. So those are some good options to carry all of the things we're going to be talking about. For chafing, another thing to be concerned about is that you could be chafing in places, other than between your legs. You could have chafing on your shoulders from where your backpack sits or on your hips. So that body glide will really come in handy for that. Just making sure you're also wearing the right type of clothing for an outdoor situation. I'll also talk about underwear options. There are some great options for men and women for travel underwear that will breathe really well and do a great job of wicking your moisture. So Ex Officio is my favorite. These are some great ones that really are great for all travel or hiking or any active situation. And for men, the Sax brand is super popular, and these are going to have what's called the ballpark pouch. You can use your imagination on that one, but Sax are really, really awesome and really help cut down on, that chafing situation that you might come in contact with. And if you are interested in types of clothing, we also have a video on our YouTube about a clinic on all things hiking clothing that Shannon did last year. So you can check that out as well to figure out what's the best clothing option for you for your outdoor trip, depending on, where you're going. And that's going to move into things like showers. So A lot of people don't know this, but you can totally take a shower when you're out in the wilderness, depending on the type of trip you're on. Maybe you're at a state park. A lot of state parks will have shower facilities and bathrooms, so you can go and use a dedicated facility. But if you're on a trail for a long time, maybe you're doing a backpacking trip or something, you might want to have a shower. And so there are options for you. There are things like travel pocket showers from Sea to Summit, or solar shower from UST. So, this is a little big for, backpacking, if, it just depends on the kind of trip you're doing. But things like this are a little bit more comfortable. And the biggest thing that you want to address when it comes to something like having a shower is that you want to be 200 feet or 70 adult paces away from any water source or campsite. And that's mostly because of not wanting to contaminate the water that goes into these water sources, or leave any, smelling scent things near your campsite, so that you're not attracting any sort of wildlife. So if you're going to be, doing something like that, some biodegradable soap is super, super important. I like to use the Dr. Bronner's, but Sea to Summit also makes some wilderness wash, and this is an all-purpose one. You can use this to wash your dishes as well, but they make some special, specific ones too. There's also these cool little leaflet sheets, and they make, shower gel and hand soap and stuff, and these are just little leaves that you get wet and then use those to lather up with. And this is a much lighter, ultralight version of, packing along some soap, much more travel friendly, depending on, how long of a trip you're going on. So those are some really good, soap options to start with. The main reason as well, that you also want to be 200 feet away, even though this stuff is biodegradable, is to not, contaminate that water source. It might be really tempting when you come across a creek or, even like a waterfall, to jump in and decide to take a shower. You might be, totally fine to jump in, but you just don't want to keep that soap in that water source because that's not naturally occurring there, and you don't want to contaminate that water source, especially if people are, getting their water from that water source and, potentially filtering that. It's still just best to keep soap and food and things like that away from your water source. And something to consider if you are going to be jumping into those water sources is your sunscreen and your bug repellent. So if you have a bug repellent lotion or sunscreen, that stuff can also contaminate those water sources. So it's also good to maybe not jump into those situations to bathe or anything, and to really just collect some water and head out 200 feet away from that water source. And if you happen to be, at a dedicated campsite, you could get something as big as, a bucket, a travel bucket that compresses this small to carry your water from that water source. Or you can just, bring some classic water bottles. And Sea to Summit even makes something similar to this that's like a kitchen sink bucket that collapses that you can use to collect some water and bring it with you to handle your business. If you happen to not be in a situation where you're able to, clean yourself that way, some really good options are just some classic bath wipes, or, baby wipes and things like that. And we have these in a couple different sizes. So just depending on what kind of trip you're going on, or, how much coverage you want. These are really good for, in between showers. Maybe your trip is only a week long and you're only going to shower once in that time. These really come in handy in between those showers. Keep you nice and clean. The main thing with these as well, though, is that you want to pack these out. So you cannot bury these. These are not necessarily biodegradable, even if they say they are. It's always a good leave no trace practice to pack out things like this. And that might just mean, putting things in a Ziploc bag until you are, at a public place to dispose of these things properly. If you are traveling and you want to dry off, then a tech towel or a travel towel could be a really good option. But, if it's hot enough out there, you might not want to use that. You might just drip dry and keep yourself nice and cool. So now the big thing that people are concerned about, when they're hiking is using the restroom. So we're going to talk about number one first. Number one is pretty easy. You might just go 100 feet away from your campsite and, pick your spot. You want to make sure it's off of a trail, away from a water source, and away from your camp. You definitely don't want to be doing this just right off trail where someone could come up and find you, because that's embarrassing and not so fun. Do your best to minimize the impact that might have on the environment. So maybe, going number one over something like some rocks or some pine needles or some old down leaves and dead leaves and stuff like that is going to be really, really helpful to minimize the impact that might have on your environment. Guys tend to have this a lot easier than women, so we are going to talk about some options for women. There are some stand-up urinary assisting devices out there. This one's called the Freshette, or you can get one called the Go Girl, and these are pretty great. The Go Girl is going to look like this. They're basically a funnel that you use to help direct the stream, the flow, and Go Girl has a combo pack as well that comes with like an extender to attach to that. So if you want to push it away further and maybe not get any splashing like on your boots or something like that. So these are really helpful if you maybe say don't want to take off your whole pack to relieve yourself, or find maybe there's not a good place to cover up. These are some really good devices that you can use to help assist you going that number one. And I'd recommend maybe trying those out at home and practice, maybe in the shower, because it does take a little second to get the swing of things on that. Next option for drying off in that situation, specifically for ladies, is what's called a pee towel or rag or something. I like these little face cloths from Pack Towel, and these are great also just for washing your face or washing your hands or washing your body. They make these also in different sizes if that's what you want to use to clean yourself with, and then just clean this so that it's more eco-friendly versus the bath wipes. But for the sense of going number one, you don't want to use like any leaves or natural materials really, unless you maybe come across some snow. That could be helpful to, wipe yourself off. But if you maybe don't want to pack toilet paper and, pack that in and pack that out, a bandana or a rag can be a good option. And then you can just tie this to the outside of your pack after you've rinsed it and let it dry, and then use it again when the time comes. But if you are going to bring toilet paper, you need to pack it in and pack it out. So always bring a Ziploc bag that you can dispose of your toilet paper in. And then after you get back to civilization, you can, put that stuff down a toilet. Another good thing to make sure you're doing for any of these situations is sanitizing your hands. So bringing along some alcohol swabs or some liquid or spray hand sanitizer are some really good options. I really like the peppermint Dr. Bronner's hand sanitizer. This is a great one. It smells nice and fresh, and it makes you feel a little better knowing that your hands are nice and clean. That's going to lead us into number two. The main thing you're going to need is going to be a trowel. And you can, bring something from home if you've got like a garden trowel and you're not going very far. Or you can get some more ultralight situations like this. And this one has some lines on it, so you know exactly how deep to dig your hole, and some leave no trace things written on the back. You guys can't really see it much, but it's got some tips, so this is a really good one. So again, you need to get 200 feet away from your campsite or any water sources. And once you get there, you're going to dig what's called a cat hole. And you're basically going to use this, and this is 6 inches, so you'll dig six inches into the earth and maybe about 4 to 6 inches in diameter, and just dig yourself a hole and, use the facilities. There's ways to do that, just classic Papa squat, but maybe you've got like a tree or something you can use to like lean in and hold yourself up. Or if you're really good at wall sits, maybe you can lean up against a tree. But Just depends on, you know, your style of how you want to go. Maybe there's a downed tree that you can dig your cat hole underneath that and sit on the, you know, downed log to, you know, hold yourself up. So once you've done that and cleaned yourself off with some, you know, toilet paper, you're going to cover your cat hole with the dirt and then maybe cover it up with some rocks or some pine needles and just make it look a little bit more inconspicuous. Some rules of thumb for that as well, especially if you're maybe hiking with a group. You can set like a designated area 200 feet away from camp for stuff like this, but you definitely don't want to use the facilities in the same cat hole twice. That's just not very good practice, so always dig yourself a fresh hole when you need to. Sanitize again before and after, and you know, you can clean off your trowel as well. Hopefully there's not any waste on this and just dirt, but you know, rinsing off your stuff is super helpful. You can bury your toilet paper if your hole is dug correctly in most situations, but a good rule of thumb is to just always pack out your toilet and to not bury it. And if you're going to do that, make sure you're using as natural toilet paper as you can, unscented, stuff like that. So we've got one more thing to cover really quick. Sorry guys, but we're going to have to cover periods for women. Good rule of thumb, again, is to always pack in and pack out your stuff. So if you're bringing along things like tampons and pads, you definitely want to bring maybe a separate Ziploc. You definitely can't bury things like that. So you need to pack those out. And if you want to go a little bit more eco-friendly or you just want to save some weight, a menstrual cup could be an option for you. We don't sell anything like that, but there's some good options to cut down on your waste and, you know, the weight that you have to pack in and pack out your, you know, sanitary options. That is about it for that. So thank you guys for watching.